And anybody is welcome to join that and try it out for 30 days.
Where is that on your sheet?
It's not on my sheet.
Oh, I was like, I don't remember reading that. Okay, what's it called?
That's my new offer.
Sorry, we got to start the show here. So,
okay.
Stand by.
We're live on YouTube too.
So pull up a chair and join us for the Gratitude Cafe, positive radio to feed your soul.
A cheerleader right here. Good morning. Oh, sorry, Benny. Was that a little hot?
Yeah, that's a little hot, but that's all right. We'll
little hot. Hey, I'm coming in hot because it was your birthday yesterday, and we gotta wish a happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much, and the hot new year, 2021 is here.
And a hot new year. Yeah, that's right. Because we had the show last week prior to. That's right. That's right. And Benny.
Yes, ma'am.
It's my middle girl's birthday today.
That's right. See, we're just a bunch of Capricorns. Gotta love it.
Love, love, love. Happy birthday to all those Capricorns. All right. We're jumping into 2021 and we're jumping in the deep end and we're going full force. We got life preservers. We got people. We got stuff. Welcome to the Gratitude Cafe. Excuse me, you guys. And yes, you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I am still navigating and getting used to the whole idea that I'm on live terrestrial radio and then I actually have to do my hair and makeup because I'm on YouTube as well. So for those of you driving, bear with me as I'm still navigating and languaging all of that and my goofy Souville self. And that's why you're here, is because of all of that, right? And I'm loving on you like we do each week. It's a new perspective, new thoughts, new ideas, and of course, new you. You just 2.0, right? So we're going to give you tips and tools, real life practical tools with guests, myself, my curriculum, my training. Speaking of the curriculum, the Craziness to Clarity, we launched the 5-week mini yesterday. So if you want to jump on, it's all free, guys. So all you got to do is just sign up. We started yesterday. For those of you in Mexico, the UK, I've got people all over the world tuning in. And a couple of you have emailed me, and I just wanted to remind you, don't worry about if you can't make it live. That's totally fine because we've got the recording. You just have to sign up so we can make sure that we get you the recording in a timely manner. So go to Lundquist.com/the letter C, the number 2, and the letter C. Stands for Craziness to Clarity. And it's all self-regulating tools and mindset hacks to help you in the now. And this week is a free little mini. I'm not going to dive into all the details. You guys can get that on the online course or coach with me personally. So without further ado, I have Adele Spraggon with us today. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, love?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am so good.
I'm super excited for 2021. And happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yay! Benny. All right. So I'm going to do, like we were talking before we jumped on the show, I'm going to give your formal introduction. And then what we would like to do is get to know Adele, your story, noodle around with you. And then we're going to educate and love on the audience and learn so much from you. So thank you so much, Adele. All right, you guys, Adele Spraggon is an award-winning author as well as an international speaker and trainer. As a behavioral change expert, I love that, sexy, yummy. She explores topics that illustrate the potential of human brain and its ability to make optimal choices that reduce conflict and achieve goals in all areas of our life. Ooh, I got a goal question for you, Miss Adele. It is all in your head, she says. And that's a good thing because with the right brain pattern, most of the problems can be overcome. Oh, I love this conversation. We're speaking the same language. Oh, I love it. Adele, I'm going to let you take the stage. Please go for it. Let us know all about your award-winning author. And I want to talk to you about goals too. I've got those kind of questions as well, but I'm going to let you jump in and go.
Sure. Would you like my back history? Is that what you want me to start? All right. Yeah. Okay. So I've been in the behavioral change world, Sue, for over 30 years, 35 years. And do you know, for the first 10 years of working in behavioral change, I was a coach and I was doing all the personal development programs under the sun. I mean, you name it, I probably did it. And despite everything that I had been taught and everything I was teaching as a coach, such as set goals correctly and determine the steps to get to that goal. And if you don't get to that goal, there's something up with your mindset. So let's work on that next, right? And on and on and on. And despite that, I was still seeing people who could not achieve those goals. And frankly, Sue, I was struggling. I kept quitting business after business, and I kept going, there's something off. There's something up with our operating instructions. So I took myself back to university and I got my master's in humanities, and I wanted to study, how does the human brain think, right? I wanted to study decision making itself from the perspective of our brain. And what I discovered is, sure enough, we have been using the wrong operating instructions. And from there, I created a repatterning technique that actually repatterns the brain so that it can make optimal decisions and move forward powerfully.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah. That's what I'm here to spread the word about, is it doesn't have to be this effortful. That's my message to the world. It can be a lot easier than we make it out to be.
Yes, and hold up your book so the YouTubers of the world can see it. Her latest book is Shift, the 4 Steps to Personal Empowerment. Yay! Oh, I love the years. I love that.
How to be free of procrastination and avoidance and quitting and all of those things that we do.
All of those, please, please, please. Okay, will you give me, because goals. When I use the word goals, it to me, and maybe it's my languaging in my brain and I need a new operating instruction. Goals to me isn't forward moving. It actually is overwhelming to me. I'm like, I don't want to have to deal with goals. Let's set an intention. This is where I'm going, and this is the stuff I'm going to have to do. The word goals is, talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, I do use it very loosely. I actually do prefer the word direction, but most people don't really get that, right?
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing about our brain, and you know, Sue, I like to say that we are living in an age of complete disruption, and I know that term's being used a lot these days, but I really mean it on a different level. So for the last 20 years, there has been an explosion in research into neuroscience, into the way our brain works. And what they are finding out is remarkable. So for example, Dr. John Dylan Haynes has now determined that your brain knows the action you're about to take up to 7 seconds before you know you are going to take that action. So let's think about this. If we could hook your brain up to a brain scanner, your brain would be able to know exactly the next question you're going to ask me before you even know it. And it would be coming in seconds before that action is being taken.
Wow.
So when we say, let's set a goal, I mean, who's setting that goal, right? I mean, really, when you start to think about it, it's sort of like a mind bend, because it's like, okay, if my brain is doing this before I'm consciously aware I'm doing this, then how do we determine the next right goal for us? And that's where repatterning the brain really comes in. So as I like to say, the only question we need to ask ourselves is not, is that the right thing to do? It's to reflect back and say, did the action I just took work? And if it worked, great, keep it. And if it didn't, then let's change the patterning of the brain so that next time you can take an optimal next step.
How do we determine what that optimal next step is, especially if we're not in homeostasis, we're in fight or flight? I mean, that's a whole nother show, I'm sure, but if we can dabble into that, because we got a lot of fight or flight going on right now. We got people in trauma, mini traumas, big traumas, the whole, everything's going on. I mean, we're all living, we're swimming in it, right?
Yeah.
So how can we not only calm our nervous system down, but also go back to, if that action didn't work, like you're saying, and you talk about in your book, if that action didn't work, how can I change my direction?
Right. Okay, great. So I like to say, in life, there are problems. That may sound really negative, but it isn't. It's like,
I use the word opportunities. I say it's an opportunity, right?
Yeah. But if, most people don't see life that way. Most people think about life as, how do I get free of problems? But if we can just say, okay, life is a series of problems, one after another, right? And you're going to face a problem. Doesn't matter what you come up against, you're going to face a problem. Then the question is, okay, what's determining that problem? And that's where your brain patterns come in. Because if you're seeing the opportunity, as you're saying, in front of you, as if it is a problem, it is simply because you have a brain pattern that needs upgrading. Okay. And that's really empowering. If you're faced with
that's
problems,
way more empowering than victimhood, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
If you're faced with problems, there is nothing wrong per se. It is just simply that your brain pattern is not aligned with what's going on out there in the world. Great. Let's change that alignment rather than trying to solve the problem, because as you say, the solution is going to be in the optimal pattern, which is coming from your brain. It's not in changing the situation out there. That's reactive.
Nothing external. It's got to be internal.
It's got to start internally. Yeah.
It's like changing the operating system inside. It's like writing a new code or something.
Yeah.
Brainiacs and people that are some of the men engineers that are listening. Oh, now I get it. Yeah. Let's go to the operating system and write a new code.
Right.
You talk about the 4 steps, and we were addressing the brain patterns. Are there steps that you obviously talk about it extensively in your book. Can we kind of have a little bit of an overview of what some of those are and how they can be applied now so we can help people?
Yeah, great question. So, I talk about brain patterns, and that sounds like I'm only talking about thinking, but I'm not. So a pattern, I'll just define it, is an intertwined physical sensation, emotion, and thought. When the 3 aspects of our being come together, it results in a particular action or behavior or belief. Okay? So when we talk about brain patterns, we're actually talking about the entire psyche, the entire physical and mental aspect of a human being. Great. So the first step is to identify the pattern. So let's talk about one of those, let's talk about a problem that somebody might be facing. So let's say that they set a goal for 2021, and they know that they have to, in order to achieve that goal, phone 10 people? Let's just say you got to pick up the phone and you got to make 10 phone calls. All right. And you find that you're procrastinating. You're not picking up the phone. Great. Knowing that that is a problem in the brain pattern and not a problem in you picking up the phone, now you can ask, okay, what's going on inside of me that is causing me to not want to pick up that phone? Right? So how am I feeling about picking up the phone?
Fear, doubt, all of that.
All of that will start to bubble up to the surface. Fantastic. You've just identified the pattern. Okay. So that's step 1. Step 2 is we need to own it as a pattern. The problem is not in who you are phoning. The problem is not in the telephone itself. The problem is in the pattern. And the pattern is coming. Remember, I said that in neuroscience is now determined that action is coming before thought, right?
Right.
So the pattern is living there before the act of the phone call.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So owning that as a pattern flips the switch. It's like, okay, I no longer have to solve the problem of picking up the phone. I have to deal with the pattern itself. Okay?
Okay.
The third step this is where it gets a little tricky, because, now I could go really into brain science, and if we have time, I can start to explain how the brain is working.
Yes, please. Are you kidding? I love this. Yes.
All right. Awesome.
Yes, the audience will follow right along. I'll advocate for them. So if we have any questions, for sure.
Okay, so the third step is to surrender, but let me explain why, because a lot of people treat surrender as if it is giving up.
Yes.
Surrender at the level of pattern is the most powerful thing you can do on the planet. Surrender at the level of action is wave the white flag. I'm a victim. I give up. I can't do this. Okay. So if you think about 2 different layers of you arising, then we can see why surrender becomes so important. But in order to understand that, I need to get into your brain.
Yes, please. Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yay!
All right. So you have likely heard, Sue, and I'm sure your audience has heard that your brain is divided into two hemispheres, a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere. All right, great.
Yep.
What you probably have not heard, because this is very new, is that the right hemisphere is not responsible for creativity and the left hemisphere for logic. That is being debunked. Okay.
Okay.
What is now starting to arise, and this research is Dr. Ian McGilchrist. Any of your listeners who are interested in theory, he's a psychiatrist. His book is called The Master and His Emissary.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
I want to look at that.
So anyway, so what he has determined is that it is not what the hemispheres are doing, but how the hemispheres are operating. Okay. So your left hemisphere is narrowly focusing in on the task at hand. As you and I are talking here, our left hemispheres are listening to the words, translating those words, bringing meaning to those words. But the right hemisphere at the same time is managing a very different level of awareness. And that level of awareness is to be aware of everything that is going on around you. So the hum of your refrigerator in the other room, even though your left hemisphere is totally unaware of it, your right hemisphere is present to that. Okay. If there is traffic outside, it's present to that. So it's aware of everything. And so that right hemisphere is drinking it all in, but without judgment. Without determining, is that right, is that wrong? That's the left hemisphere's job. Okay. And these two levels of awareness are really, really important for us to understand why surrender is so necessary.
I love
it. Because your left hemisphere only knows what it knows. And if you're not reaching that goal, if you're not picking up that phone, it's because your left hemisphere doesn't yet know the right step to take. Okay. Meanwhile, your right hemisphere has been absorbing everything around it for its entire lifetime. And so all the answers actually exist there. The problem is that the right hemisphere doesn't speak English or any other language for that matter. Okay. The language center is in the left hemisphere.
Yes.
Okay. So those thoughts that we have are all left hemisphere based. Okay. Now, it's not that language isn't occurring in both hemispheres. It is. It's just that the language center is the left hemisphere. So in order for us to get to the answer, which exists in the right hemisphere, but we don't know it yet, we have to surrender to what the left hemisphere is telling us is correct.
Or letting go control.
We got to let go of that control. We have to let go of that understanding. We have to let go of that meaning. We have to let go of all of our beliefs about what's going on. We have to let go of everything that we think is right or wrong about us and about the world. And then when we do that, that right hemisphere can click in and go, oh, here's your answer, and presents it, boom, and off we go. And we're running in a new pattern, an upgraded pattern, one that actually fits and one that holds your answer.
I love that. In order for the right side to step in. And there's a metaphor there, the right side.
The right side. Exactly.
I love this. You'll get a kick out of this. So I'm a big proponent, of mindset hacks. You heard me talk about my craziness to clarity, but I put my right shoe on every day, the right foot. Then, it's a metaphor for life, and it's the intending to make the right choices. And, we all fall from grace, but I love. Audience, did you guys hear Adele and how she is explaining how to surrender? You guys have heard me talk about this, and in an essence, but I love how Adele went into the brain. It's not theology, but the brain mechanics or navigating between the left and the right hemisphere. And you were talking about Ian's book, and it's The Master and the Adversary, right? So if you guys—
The Master and His Emissary.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
But with Adele and her book, The 4 Steps to Personal Empowerment, she goes into those 4 steps. And what we were talking about here, and this was step number 3 in the surrender. So 1 was identifying the pattern. 2 was owning it, because we learned that the brain is 3 seconds ahead of us. We already know what we're going to ask, correct?
Right.
Exactly. I'm such a good student. I love this. Yay. And then number 3 is surrender. But Adele went into deep conversation about the left and right hemisphere, which is important. It's the practicality of it. It's the understanding. When you have the understanding and the knowledge, you then are better equipped to make sound choices and or change your direction, as you call it, Adele, with your coaching, teaching, and in your book. So the left side is the narrow focus. It's, bringing meaning to things. It's conversations, all of that. The right side, you're aware of everything. Like you said, the humming of the fridge, the ocean roaring, somebody talking outside, whatever that is. And in order for you to surrender, you've got to let go of that control, the true, authentic, genuine surrender. Let go of the control so the right hemisphere can come in.
Yes.
And then say, here's your answer.
Yes. Yes. And done correctly, it takes about 30 to 45 seconds. Like, honestly, it's not, people think that surrender is going to take a lifetime to master, but no, if you can identify the pattern, own the pattern, and then know how to surrender to it, it's quick.
Done.
Yeah.
I can hear I'm advocating for the audience, because I'm like, well, wait, how do you do that? I want that. I want more of that. I want that. I want that surrender part. It's the homeostasis, it's calming the body or calming the brain down to get to the right side. Is that correct? Is that the right language?
Yeah. Well, like I said, we're used to thinking that thought is in control, but so if we really understand how the brain is working, thought is following the pattern. So I like to say that every thought we have just rides in on the back of a pattern. So we should not be putting thought first. We need to put thought last. Our first reaction, the first thing that a pattern does as it reacts, as it comes into being, is emotional and physical.
Yes.
Then thought comes in. Right? So if we're going to surrender, let's put this mind on one side. This mind is just feeding us crazy thoughts most of the time. And we keep running down rabbit holes chasing it. Right?
I call that the drunk monkey.
Yeah, exactly.
And it makes you giggle. So that's me. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we can stop positioning thought as if it's bringing us anything of value, because it rarely is, then we can surrender at the level that we need to surrender at, which is physical, right? Okay. What's going on emotionally? What's going on physically? And then where do I find that in the body, right? That's where the power lies.
Oh, wait, that was important. Audience, I heard something super juicy. Where is that line in the body?
Yes.
Ooh, yeah. Can we identify that, noodle on that just a little bit? How do people get to that place? Because they just said, wait a minute. Maybe they haven't heard that before. I've heard that, but I want to get your ideal of that and hear, identify what in the body, like my heart, I've got heartburn, or I got a stomach ache, or what does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great, okay, you just went down, wow, you just opened up a huge box here, but let's try and sum it up as quickly as we can in the next 30 minutes.
Okay.
All right, so every pattern, as I was saying, has 3 parts to it: physical, emotional, mental, right? And if we can put the mental on one side and just know that every thought is riding in on a pattern, then the question your audience can ask is, okay, where is this pattern arising in the body? Where am I feeling when I go to pick up that telephone, right? And let's say that they notice, oh, my stomach is really clenching up here. Great, that's where you can surrender to. It's in that clenching of the stomach that you're going to get your breakthrough. It's not in having to pick up the phone. Forget that. That's after the fact. That's coming in 3 seconds after your stomach is just clenched, right? Whether you're aware of that clenching or not, it doesn't matter. Now, I said that you opened up a whole can of worms there.
Well, and I'm thinking of jobs and people, in talking about your book and what you've been teaching. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you imagine the awareness and putting on a new pair of glasses of my physical, emotional, mental state oh, I'm going to pick up the phone to call the boss. Oh, I don't feel good. Oh, right. Or it could be an in-law, it could be a parent. It could be any of that, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And
Okay.
it could be any reaction. It might be shame, it might be anger, it might be frustration. I mean, we are a myriad of expressions, I like to say. Our job is just to identify which expression is arising in any
Oh,
given
I
moment.
love that. Which expression is arising? All right. With that, Miss Adele, all right. We are going to take, I've got 3 sheets of notes here, and I love that. We are going to take a quick commercial break. We are joined here with Adele Spraggon. Her latest book, it's the 4 steps of personal empowerment. And we have talked about 1, 2, and 3. So identifying the pattern, 2, owning it, 3, surrender. And we're going to talk about 4 when we come back. But
Yep.
before that, we're going to still talk about the patterns that are arising, which are the 3, the physical, the emotional, and the mental. With that, Miss Adele, we will be right back. Sue Lundquist here with the Gratitude Cafe. We'll be back in just a minute.
Okay.
All right. So Adele, we're still live on YouTube. So
Okay.
So we can say hi and
Hi.
hold up the book so everybody can see you. Hello, there's the book. I'm going to take another screenshot. Say cheese. I love this. Which expression is coming up? I love that. I will be recommending your book to my tribe today. I love all of this. It's all about, and I'm so deep-seated in practicality. I mean, I've got quite a bit of 5D in me, but I'm so deep-seated in 3D practicality. I want tools that I can use right here, right now, so I don't lose my shiitake,
Yes.
Yeah. With everything.
And we need tools, like the world's speeding up. I like to say, Sue, things are getting faster and faster, and we need powerful tools right now. We
do to self-regulate and to calm the limbic, just everything. I love this conversation, Adele. The last few years, I've been working with a gentleman, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Yes, intensely I've been invited to be one of his team leaders and activity leaders all pre-COVID. And this is what he teaches. I mean, it's amazing, and learning about, the left side of the brain and the narrow focus and the right side of the brain. It's, different language, but a lot of the same conversation. I love how you break it down, though. I really like I go back to the practicality, breaking it down to manageable pieces.
Yeah. And I mean, people need tools now that are quick too. You talk about tools, right?
Oh,
like we need something now and immediate that we have at our fingertips that we can use. Because my background, Sue, is meditation. I mean, I've been meditating for years, but that takes time, right? You have to have the time and the place to do that. And right now, we need those tools today and yesterday. We need to be able to use them on the fly in conversation. So having practical 4 steps that you can apply 2 minutes in your privacy of your own head, that is so needed.
Yes. And I love that you had talked about, because surrender, I do the coaching and I'll talk about surrender and they'll be like, huh? Surrender. I'm like, that control thing that we all do, or we try to control the outcome. Let go of all of that. But I love how you segregated the left and right brain and really gave it a definition. I really, really like that. And I also like that you said it's only 30 to 45 seconds. So manageable, right? As long as you have the steps.
Ready to come back in?
Yes, please.
All right, stand by.
So I'm back to the velvet.
Oh, I love that song, Benny. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Sue Lundquist here with the Gratitude Cafe. If you want a copy of the newsletter, the blog, and a copy of this radio show, please go to SueLundquist.com/Gratitude Cafe. If you are not driving or have just parked the car, we would love to see you on YouTube, and you can just but you could just go onto YouTube and just type in 11:50 a.m. and you will see us live right here. Benny's in studio, and then guests all over the world. Ask questions. We can get in there. You can also email at supersuecares@gmail.com for any questions. If you would like to also be featured on my radio show and fill out an application form, we'd love to hear from you. Today, we've got a special guest. They're all special to me. I love it. And we are talking operating instructions. I love that. It's the instructions, it's the patterns, it's directions versus goals, changing your directive, your direction, right? Mm-hmm. And we've got incredible, crazy, awesome expert all at once, Adele Spraggon, and her latest book, Shift, 4 Steps to Personal Empowerment. And it's overcoming yourself. It's procrastination, it's fear, it's shame, whatever that stuff is that's coming up for you. And during the break, Adele, we were talking about how the world is going so fast, so fast, that we need tools to help us self-regulate and to get back into alignment, to hear the right side of the brain give us those answers.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The world's speeding up.
It is speeding up. And before the break, you were talking about the patterns, the 3 types of patterns: physical, emotional, mental. And the left side of the brain is the narrow, we're just going to call it narrow focus. And then the right side is aware of everything. It's picking up on all the bits and pieces. Letting go of control. That was the number 3 in the 4-step process that we were talking about in your latest book. And that surrender prior to the break. If you guys missed that, you need to go back and listen to it because it was profound, and it's going to set up the conversation of us moving forward. So make sure you guys go back and listen to the show. I love what you said, Adele. It says thoughts ride in on the back of a pattern. I love that. So at the top of the hour, Adele was talking about your thoughts happen 2 to 3 seconds. It knows, your thoughts know 2 to 3 seconds before you're going to pick up the phone, for example, or the question you're going to ask. So it's identifying what that is, right? That's the number 1. And then 2, and guys, these are superpower tips. This is all in her book. You got to go and get her book. This is going to help you self-regulate. This is, if you're noodling around and thinking, how do I get out of that drunk monkey? How do I get out of that craziness, right? Well, here's your, Adele was talking about before the break, it's 30 to 45 seconds. You've got that, especially if you've got something right in front of you going, I need an answer, right? Yeah, so identifying the pattern, owning it, knowing full well that, meaning your thoughts are coming ahead 2 to 3 seconds, own it, know it, okay, no judging, no judgy. We don't want judging. And then the powerful surrender. That was huge. Letting go of the meaning of control, letting go of all of that. And then we talked about, again, the physical, emotional, mental patterns. Where am I feeling in my body? What is it? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it mental? Right?
Yep.
And granted, we're drawing this out in an hour-long radio show, but you can ask these questions within 30 seconds. I mean, you can, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the hardest thing is identifying that pattern. That's
courageous work right there.
It's very courageous work. Yes. Because, and I don't underestimate anybody who does that, because, so you talk about courage. Do you know what do you think is the hardest thing for a human being to do? What do you think is the most fearful thing for any human being on the planet to do?
I would say from getting over myself, change, right?
Yeah, but why? What do you think is the thing that we all fear? And it's almost in our DNA, I could say. There's only one thing that every person on this planet fears.
Is it fear of disappointment? Is it fear of what? Worthiness?
It's fear of the unknown.
Oh, fear of the unknown. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right?
That all wraps up into that. Yes.
Everything comes down to the unknown. But if we're going to change a pattern, that's the one place we have to stand.
Yep.
And that's another reason why surrender is so necessary, right?
Yeah.
But we need to be able to say, I don't know anything. And wow, isn't that terrifying?
And it's vulnerable.
And vulnerable.
It's so beautiful, right?
Yes.
I mean, you and I have been doing this where you know about the Dr. Joe work, but that's exactly it. It's the unknown.
It's the unknown that holds us all back. And it's the one, it is the most powerful thing we can do, is because how are we going to create new answers? we have to let go of old answers, right? So really just practically, you can see why that unknown is so
Oh, now
necessary.
audience, did you guys hear that? It was so practical, but so powerful. So simple. Letting go of the old story, letting go of the old pattern. It ain't working for you. Why are you carrying that big old bag around with you? Take the 4 steps that Adele's talking about, 30 to 45 seconds, and boom, you're changing a pattern. You're changing direction.
Yeah,
If that ain't practical, I don't know what is. Yeah. Oh, the unknown, of course. Okay, I'm going to let you lead. Where are we going with this, Adele? This is so yummy.
Well, that then takes us to step 4.
Yes, it does.
Because if you're going to get to the unknown, then there is one thing that your left brain needs to be able to do first, and that's to trust. You see, the left brain doesn't have access to it does have access to the right brain. I'm not saying it doesn't. Right. But remember, the left brain is your language center. Yes. So according to the left brain, it's all it knows. All right. And you have to figure it out according to the left brain. According to the left brain, Sue, it's like, okay, Sue, what did you do before? And what will you have to change in order to do something different next time? And all of that past, future, back and forth, narrowing in, that's all left brain activity. Okay.
Past and future conversation on the left.
All on the left.
Okay.
Right brain only has access to now and does not have access to the language center, but it is the master, as Ian McGilchrist says. That is where your power center lies. So what do we have to do to let go of all that left brain stuff? Well, we have to trust.
Right? I can hear everybody going, trust, what?
I know.
At first it was surrender, now I got to trust.
And then you have to trust. And that's step 4, is you've got to trust that the right brain will be able to create that new solution on your behalf. It can, it's all there. And I'll tell you why it's all there. Because since the day you were born, you have been absorbing everything that has been coming in through the senses, and it's stored all in that subconscious, that brilliant subconscious of ours, right?
Oh yeah.
90%, all of that
right?
Stuff,
yeah.
But it's not in a format that is usable right now. It's not tangible. So it's not like we can open that door and say, okay, I'm going to look at what happened in 2002 at 2:00. That's just not available to you. But that learning is there, that information is there. I call it the vast warehouse within. And when we let go of that pattern and tap to the right, then that vast warehouse brings your answer. Okay. And that answer is brand new. And it comes from a lifetime of learning. I mean, just think about how many books you've read, or how many TV shows you've watched, or how many conversations you've had, right? And yes, they're not available like that, but they are there on some level in the unconscious. And the unconscious is able to piece those together into a brand new creative solution and present it to you in the form of insight, in the form of intuition, in the form of, aha, I've got it. Right?
Yes, the downloads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Those don't have to be spontaneous. They can be systematic when we know how to repattern the brain.
Oh, did you guys hear that? It can be systematic if we know how to reprogram the brain.
Yeah.
Ooh, can we go in and digest that just a little bit?
Sure.
Okay.
So we're used to think of those aha moments as spontaneous, as as something that is divinely inspired. Let's even go that far, right? Like they feel like they're coming in. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. They feel like they're coming in from somewhere outside of us and that we have no control over them. But that's only because they are coming from the right brain center, which doesn't have language. And it's those spontaneous moments where the left and right brain communicate. Why don't we stop making that spontaneous and just start making it systematic? And we can do that when we know how to communicate between these two hemispheres. When we know how to let go of the patterns that the left brain hemisphere insists are correct, even though they're not, even though they're limited, and tap to the right, then those aha moments are just part and parcel of life. They're expected. It's like, okay, I'm just going to wait for my next aha by applying the 4 steps, and boom, the answer will show up.
Oh, just allowing the left and right. Just let them dance.
Let them dance.
Dance.
Yeah.
Surrender and trust into that dance step. Oh, there's a yummy metaphor in all of that, right? Because, learning to dance too, you have to surrender to your partner and trust.
That's true.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Adele, this is wonderful. All right, guys, if you're just tuning in, well, you missed a lot of juicy stuff. I'm telling you. We have been talking to Adele Spraggon, her latest book, 4 Steps to Personal Empowerment, The Shift. And she's behavioral change expert. I love that language. I really love that. Because I've been, when you hear coach or transformational coach, it's in the years, it's kind of got a bad connotation to it, but this really hones it in. I love that. Behavioral change expert. That's wonderful. Personal empowerment, decision-making, overcoming ourselves, the 4 steps that Adele's talking about. At the top of the hour, we were talking about 1, 2, and 3. And if you missed it, you got to go back because I've already repeated that. And now I'm teasing you and you have to go back and listen to the show. And buy the book. Adele, how can they get a hold of you? Can you let us know about all your social media?
Yes. So, well, first of all, they can do better than buy the book if they would like it for free. All you have to do is go to my website, Shift 4 Steps. That's the number 4. All I ask is that you pay for shipping, and I will send you a book.
Wow. Shift the number 4 steps.
Steps with an S, STEPS.
Wow. All right, audience, you best be getting on that. Adele is giving you quite a gift here. And audience, you have heard me over years. I mean, we're talking well over 10 years. It's about the practical application. And don't we teach most what we want to learn or need to learn? I mean, going through all of my stuff, I needed self-regulating tools, the changing the direction tools. And this is just another great tool that I'm absolutely going to bring into my toolbox. I love it. Identifying the program, owning it, knowing what we talked about at the top of the hour. I'm not going to tell the audience again because they have to go back and listen because it was super juicy. And then 3, that surrender, we went deep, or Adele went deep into talking about, because this was really important. When you have the information, the back, I was going to say backdoor information, but you know what I'm trying to say. Talking about the 2 sides of the brain, the left and the right side, and understanding what their purpose is for, then you can go to step 2 and own it. Oh, that's what's going on. Okay, I'm owning it. I'm not going to take it personal. I'm not going to judge it. Then I'm going to go to step 3. I'm going to let it go. It's going to be fine. I'm going to surrender. And then step 4 is the trusting. Trusting that the left and right are going to dance together. And then you will get the communication. When Adele and I talk about, and this is my language, I talk about that dance. It's the soft little voices. And I ask the left and right, the universe, you call it whatever you want, that dance to come in butterflies, not grizzly bears. I don't want any more grizzly bears, right? And with that being said, that means I, in my 3D humanity and also 5D, is keeping myself in trust and surrender and aware. That's the agreement, right? It's the awareness and allowing my right or my left and right hemispheres dancing. I love that. Let's talk a little bit about that. We've got about 12 more minutes or 10 more minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I love the fact that you brought up awareness, because what do you feel, Sue, that we should be aware of, right? Like most people say, be aware of what's going on around you. Forget it. It's all given by patterns. Okay.
Not external environments. It's here.
Be aware of what's going on internally.
Yeah.
That's where your gold lies, right? That internal reaction, that internal thought, that internal belief. that behavior that's flowing out of all of that. If you can be just aware of that, I like to say, give yourself permission to be totally self-centered. Like,
Right.
just take care of you, but know that it's a pattern, like not in a selfish way, but just in a, okay, I'm suffering here. And if I'm suffering, it's because I have a pattern that's causing me to suffer. Remove that pattern and your suffering goes away and everybody else's suffering goes away. So the thing that we have so wrong is that the right brain is taking care of everything at the same time, including us, including the individual. So just by taking care of you, knowing that using patterns alone, okay, you will automatically take care of the people around you. Your right brain does not distinguish between you and other. And that's the trickiest thing for us human beings to understand. You know, if your listeners want to hear the difference between the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, Jill Bolte Taylor, A Stroke of Insight, you've heard of her?
Oh, okay. That was incredible.
Yes. Now, she beautifully articulates how the right hemisphere works independent of the left. And notice how when she had her stroke, there was no boundary between her and the other. Okay.
And she articulated, because she knew medically what was going on, and she just went ding, ding, ding. Just
exactly.
Yeah, please.
Exactly. So the left hemisphere thinks in terms of either you or me, right? I got to take care of me, or I've got to be vulnerable and take care of you. All of that is left hemisphere. The right hemisphere doesn't distinguish between outside and inside, doesn't distinguish between you and me. It has no ability to say what is you, what is me. Okay. All it has is this lack of boundary. Therefore, if you're suffering, take care of you and let the optimal pattern take care of both of you.
Optimal pattern take care of you.
Yes. Wow. That's powerful because, you know, I work with couples who are on the verge of divorce. They go from divorce to newlyweds inside of 6 weeks.
Yep.
Okay. Now, how does that happen? Because I don't tell them go and communicate. I don't tell them to go and do any of those normal things that a couples counselor would tell them to do. I say, go work on your pattern. If you're suffering, if you're hurting, go deal with that, remove that, let's repattern that. And each of them do that independent of the other person.
How powerful. Huge audience. Yeah.
So we've got it all wrong. I mean, I talked initially about the wrong operating instructions. That's what I'm talking about, right? It's not either or. It's not sacrifice.
You know, Adele, this is beautiful, Adele. Okay, what's coming up for me? And I and it's interesting because I teach a lot of this, one about boundaries, but I'm going to back up a little bit because it's triggers. Yeah. Triggers are not about the external. Triggers are what's happening because of a response, the three that you said, physical, emotional, mental, from a subconscious belief inner program that happened a while ago. You just said science is showing the brain already knows 2 to 3 seconds before. So of course you're going to be reactionary. Somebody says something to you. I can't tell you how many, and I'm not throwing my ex under the bus because I've used this too. I'm like, why are you saying that? You're triggering me. Or he would always say, you know, expletive, you're triggering me. And I'm like, no, I'm not. That's all you.
Right. Exactly.
But that's a big pill. That pill is not easy to swallow. And there's a lot of
that would trigger him even more, right?
Oh my God. And it's the victimhood, right? And I say that with love. There's no judgment in any of it because I walk the talk. I mean, and the audience knows this. It's not about judgment. It's about the awareness and opening and putting a new pair of glasses on. And I know, and I kind of think you would agree, Adele, if you don't feel safe in a dialogue of a conversation, you're not going to share.
No.
Flat out, you're not.
No. And even if you know what you're supposed to say, if you don't feel safe, it's going to come across accusatory and defensive and judgmental, even if you're saying all the right words, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to help you.
I know. Yeah. So answer, how do we overcome that? Yeah, the triggers and owning it, taking responsibility, releasing the control. Oh, Adele, this is so good. So good. I
Yeah.
want to make sure everybody gets your book. We got to work the website again. Sorry, my brain went straight. See, my old pattern went to other stuff.
So the website again, do you want it?
Yeah,
www.
Shift 4 steps with an S, right?
With an S, and that's number 4.
Yep. www. Shift the number 4 steps. www. SHIFT 4 STEPS. I just want to make sure everybody's got that. Free book, guys. All you have to do is pay for shipping. Are you kidding me? You got your 4 steps right there. Top of the hour, we talked about the first 3. Second part of the hour, we talked about step 4, and that is that trusting. And then we've been kind of noodling a little bit more on the kind of the background of triggers and emotions and stuff that come up. What would you say to the audience? We've got just a couple more minutes in your, personal and professional practice, because you've been doing this for so long. How can people own their triggers? How can they take responsibility and accountability for their own triggers?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. That is such a beautiful question, because we swim in a world of shame and blame. Ugh. Because we are not taught about patterns. Okay. So not knowing that the pattern is reacting 3 seconds before you're aware that the pattern is going to react means that you have to blame yourself when you react. Okay. Means that other people get to shame you when you react. Mean that you feel shame when you react. And all of that makes things really, really, really messy. Mm-hmm. So here's one trick that your audience can take away is, if anybody says to you, why did you do that? You have one answer: because my patterns made me do it.
Wow.
Okay? Now go off and deal with the pattern. I'm not saying that lets you off the hook.
Yeah, right? But like the big, huge disclaimer, audience, you're not off the hook
Not off the hook. But once you know it's a pattern, you don't have to blame yourself. You don't have to feel ashamed of your reaction. You can say, oh, okay, I got a pattern here that's not working.
That's
I have a tool.
I love that.
Exactly. I have a tool where I can deal with that pattern, so I won't react the same way next time. Okay. But for now, I don't have to blame myself. It is a pattern. That's powerful.
That's one. But then 2, that's also you taking accountable and being accountable and responsible. And now going and addressing the pattern, owning it, surrender, and trust.
Exactly. Apply the 4 steps, change the repatterning of the brain. You will not react the same way next time. Okay.
And
so that's important to know.
Yeah. And you're building neural pathways and trust on your new experiences. And it's only going to get better. For lack of a better word.
Exactly. But beating yourself up, making yourself feel, blaming yourself for something that was beyond your control, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And when you hear that, beyond your control, they're like, well, I had control. They had control. No. I put that one on my pattern because that was my subconscious, and that's not how I'm meant to show up, but it was my pattern.
Exactly.
And Adele, you might like this. I coined this a few years ago, and I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. When these patterns come up, the drunk monkey comes up, whatever. And I say, audience, Sue, clients, have the CCs in life, which is compassionate curiosity. Mm-hmm. Because you go into a different state, a higher vibration, and then you get curious. You take responsibility, your 4 steps, you identify, you get curious, right?
Yeah.
You own it.
Yep.
You're getting curious, you surrender, and then you trust. I love this. Another superpower tool. Oh, you guys, you got to go get this book, Adele Spraggon, Shift 4 Steps to Personal Empowerment. We have talked about all 4 and so much more. We're wrapping up the hour. You get a free book. You just pay for shipping. So go to www.shift4 Steps with an S. And I will make sure I put that on the website and all the social media. Adele, love this conversation. Let me know how I can best support you moving forward. I wish you so much abundance and so much love, and 2021 and beyond. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
It's been so much fun. Thanks, Sue.
I love this conversation. And Benny, thank you, sweetheart. And again, happy birthday yesterday. Happy birthday to my daughter, all of that. All right. We'll see you next week. And until then, each of you are a gift. Get out there and share yourself.